name is Nakia Franklin.
And I'm Von Greta.
And welcome to this episode of The Real
and Raw Talk Show,
where there are no boundaries
and no judgments.
Hey, y'all, we're so excited to be back this week. Woo! We're also so excited to share this platform with Commander Carolita Johnson. Carolita Johnson.
You said it right, Carolita. Police.
Carolita Johnson of the Houston Police Department. She is a mother, an advocate, and a well-respected, committed leader within the ranks of the Houston Police Department. As a captain, she has worked patrol and as a result of COVID-19 spends most of her days virtually engaging with members of the community to address concerns, answer questions, and bring relatedness and transparency to the Houston Police Department. Now, since COVID-19 has changed the dynamic of the face-to-face interaction, these Zoom meetings are convenient, welcoming, and creates the pathways for the community to not only connect with someone in authority and with experience, but who has the empathetic ear and a passion that shows the commitment to the outcomes of the community's concerns. Now, her personal stance, her walk, and direct engagement with the community is unique for the South Central area of Houston, Texas, and can be considered as a model for other cities and communities as well, and has an intention to unify and not to divide the community and the justice system.
Come on, somebody say Carolita. Johnson has an extensive experience with the gang division and is responsible for review and verification of all gang-related crimes in Houston. Now, this is inclusive and not limited to the Crime Reduction Unit, Criminal Apprehension Team, Gang Resistance Education and Training, and the Proactive Investigation Squads. Whew. Somebody said, go girl. I mean,
go girl.
Really?
All day.
Lord. Thank you for bringing her home safe every day, Jesus. Okay, so we would, for each of us to consider her humanity. Okay, as we get to know the commissioner, the commission that she walks in as a commander beyond the badge, and to see her as we see ourselves when we look into the mirror, right? Knowing that who we are is still who we are, and we step into being as we step outside of our homes as mothers, wives, husbands, fathers, sisters, brothers, uncles, aunts, friends, and see, it doesn't change that because we step into our roles and what we choose as a career. The normal who we are doesn't change, right, sis?
Absolutely, sis. Absolutely. Now, we each have the freedom to choose our occupations and wear the uniforms. That these roles possess, right? So regardless of what uniform represents, what the uniform represents, it does not negate who we are beyond the commitment that we choose to uphold within the occupation we have individually chose to partake in. Now, our uniforms can be a suit and tie, a dress, or scrubs. First responders and firefighters have a lot of gear to wear, right? Judges and lawyers, teachers and preachers, homemakers, master technicians, sanitation and restoration and construction workers, beauticians and barbers, waste management workers, and all of the other notable individuals that we could reference, but we don't have time to do that right now. So no, we love y'all. No, we are not justifying any of the actions of the police and the injustices that has been done against the people, especially and specifically those of us that are of color, Black and Latino. Now, let's not just say their names, but let's remember their names. George Floyd.
Breonna Taylor.
Adam Toledo.
Michael Hughes.
Dante Wright.
Freddie Gray.
Michael J. Riviera.
Ronell Mouzon.
Zachary Anderson Jr.
Alvin Cole.
Xavier Ray Williams.
Toby LaRon Wiggins.
Donald Ward.
Philip Jackson.
Joshua James Brown.
Kelvin D. Shaw,
Tyler M. Jones,
Kamal Flowers,
Vincent Harris,
Darius Washington,
Tina Marie Davis.
Yasin Muhammad. Now listen, guys. There are only a few names from the 164 Black men and women who were killed by police from January 1st to August 31st, 2020. These names are compiled using databases from Mapping Police Violence and the Washington Post, generated by CBSNews.com representative Lai Cohen, and that's from September 10th, 2020, part 1. We must always support our sources, right, sis?
Absolutely. We got to acknowledge them, y'all. Our intentions of this episode, number 10, is to look into the eyes of Commander Johnson as a representative of law enforcement, as she speaks and shares who she is. For us to have an idea of what it is like to be a human being faced with the responsibility, like many others, of being a Black woman, raising her sons, and being challenged by the daily demands of her to be an officer upholding the law, even when some colleagues clearly do not. Yet she is a leader in her industry, community leader, community member, who has similar and oftentimes the same fears of any mother raising Black males, and as a woman behind the badge in 2021. Let us never forget the human being behind the uniform, because we all live, we all breathe,
Yes.
and we bleed the same.
You better say that, sis. And we also have the privilege of having an amazing musician, Raul Blanco, and the Jazz Wires, and an awesome poet, Jerome J. Speaks Covington. Now, you'll learn more about them during the show. Now, it's time to get real and and we want to hear from you, our audience, our guests. So please, especially in this episode, those of us who have followed us and been with us for these last 10 episodes, or 9, you know how to do it. But tonight, we really want your engagement. So to allow us and our guests to see your comments, please take just a few seconds and go to www.streamyard.com/Facebook. That's www.streamyard.com/Facebook. And that will grant StreamYard access to see your comments. So stick around, post questions and comments, share all over the place. We need your support, you guys. We are asking for it. We are asking for it, and we're counting on you. So start your own watch party right now, because it's time to enter the no judgment zone.
You are entering the no judgment That's incredibly kind. Thank you so much. They only gave me a few minutes, so I want to say a very special thanks to Ms. Viola Davis, who is nominated tonight in doing this. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. To the Board of Governors, especially to Whoopi Goldberg, Ava. You know, when I set out to help someone, it is my intention to do just that. I'm not trying to do anything other than meet somebody at their humanity. Like, case in point, this one time, I remember maybe it was about 17 years ago, I rented this building and we were using it for production. And I was walking to my car one day and I see this woman coming up out of the corner of my eye and I say, she's homeless, let me give her some money. Judgment. I wish I had time to talk about judgment. Anyway, I reach in my pocket and I'm about to give her the money. She says, "Excuse me, sir, do you have any shoes?" It stopped me cold because I remember being homeless and having one pair of shoes and they were bent over at the heels. So I was like, yeah. So I took her into the studio. She was hesitant to go in, but we went in, we go to wardrobe and there are all these boxes and everything around the walls and fabrics and racks of clothes. So we ended up having to stand in the middle of the floor. So as we're standing there, wardrobe, we find some shoes, we help her put them on. I stand up, I'm waiting for her to look up. And all this time she's looking down. She finally looks up, she's got tears in her eyes. She said, "Thank you, Jesus. My feet are off the ground." In that moment, I recall her saying to me, "I thought you would hate me for asking." I'm like, how can I hate you when I used to be you? How can I hate you when I had a mother who grew up in a Jim Crow South in Louisiana, rural Louisiana, right across the border from Mississippi, who at 9 or 10 years old was grieving the death of Emmett Till. As she got a little bit older, she was grieving the death of the civil rights boys and the little girls who were in the bombing in Alabama. She grieved all these years. And I remember being a little boy and coming home, and she was at home, like, "What are you doing at home? You're supposed to be at work." She was in tears that day. She said there was a bomb threat. And she couldn't believe that someone wanted to blow up this place where she worked, where she took care of all these toddlers. It was the Jewish Community Center. My mother taught me to refuse hate. She taught me to refuse blanket judgment. And in this time, and with all of the internet and social media and algorithms and everything that wants us to think a certain way, the 24-hour news cycle, it is my hope that all of us would teach our kids, and not only to remember, just refuse hate. Don't hate anybody. I refuse to hate someone because they are Mexican or because they are black or white or LGBTQ. I refuse to hate someone because they are a police officer. I refuse to hate someone because they are Asian. I would hope that we would refuse hate. And I want to take this Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award and dedicate it to anyone who wants to stand in the middle, no matter what's around the walls. Stand in the middle, because that's where healing happens. That's where conversation happens. That's where change happens. It happens in the middle. So anyone who wants to meet me in the middle, to refuse hate, to refuse blanket judgment, and to help lift someone's feet off the ground, this one is for you too. God bless you, and thank you, Academy. I appreciate it. Thank
you. Wow.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, y'all. What did he just say, sis? He said to refuse hate. Meet us in the middle and refuse hate. And anybody who is ready to meet us in the middle, join us. Join us right here on this platform. Join us, even if we're not physically there with you. Join us and be it with us in spirit and communicate with your family and friends, regardless of what the uniform is. We do not have to hate.
Right.
It's enough of that in the world.
Absolutely.
What are you going to do? You know?
Well, let's get into it then, shall we?
Let's get into it. Welcome.
Tyler started us off. Right.
Amen. Okay. So this is what we're here to talk about. Meet us in the middle. Okay. Who's protecting and who's serving? Let's jump right into it because I want our audience to know who our guest is. Miss Carolita. I just don't want to say her name right. Jesus help me. Carolita Johnson, Commander Carolita Johnson of HPD, Houston Police Department in the house. Hey!
I'm so sorry.
Georgia to my mind, not my heart, please.
You guys, that was such a wonderful introduction. I almost was like, are they talking about me? Thank you so much. You guys are so phenomenal. And I love the topic. Meet us in the middle. If you wanted me to start off, or did you want to start with the question?
I'm going to ask you some questions because I need the people to get to know you before we discuss and get into the nitty gritty of all the other stuff, right? Okay, so please share with us a little bit about yourself, your name and the correct pronunciation of your name. If you have children, how many, your education, and your occupation, just to begin.
So my name is Carolita, and that's how it's pronounced. And as we've talked about before, it's been mispronounced all my life. And so I actually accept different versions of my first name. It's okay. But yes, I'm a Houston police officer, a Houston police commander, and I have been with the Houston Police Department for a total of almost 26 years now. I spent 5 years in Houston back in 1990, I would say 93 all the way till about 98. And then I went to Dallas Police Department for 2 years. I missed Houston so bad, so I came back. And I returned, and I've been back in Houston with the Houston Police Department for a total of 26 years. And so pretty much I was recruited out of the University of Oklahoma. Mm. And so I can say that this has been my only career. This is pretty much the only career, even though I've worked different odd jobs while I was in college. This is pretty much the only career that I know. And it's been a wonderful career. It's been very rewarding. It's not like going to work every day. I love helping people. And that's pretty much what drew me to this particular profession. When I was in college, I started out in college to go into engineering. It was more computer science engineering. Mm. And I decided that the math was just too boring. I like to deal with people. I like to deal with social issues. I'm attracted to that because I want to help strengthen people. I want to help the weak. I want to take up for the people that can't take up for themselves, or protect the people that can't protect themselves. Since I've been in Houston, I have been raising a family. I have 2 boys. They're 18 and 19. And most of my, I would say, parenting has been single parenting. So I do know the struggles that single parents have. And during these years of raising my children, I didn't hesitate to fight to promote through the ranks. And I'm gonna tell you, it was a fight because there's a lot of studying involved, a lot of, working, trying to develop yourself, trying to learn from one another, practicing, preparing for presentations, preparing for assessment centers. There's a lot. Our test consists of several books that they throw at you at the last. I would say they give you 4 to 6 weeks to study, and so you're competing against people that may not necessarily have the challenges that you're faced with.
Right. Yeah.
So I remember times where I'm trying to multitask, 2 kids in tow, and letting them play, taking them to Chuck E. Cheese while I had my book spread across the table, having, I don't want to say endless coins, but I didn't have endless cash, but I would just try to get as much, coins as I could, and I would sit it in a bowl, and it would run around Chuck E. Cheese while I had my books across the table. And we would sit there till closing time or until it was time to go to bed. I remember, trying to exercise so I can multitask, because guess what? That little time that everybody else has to go eat dinner, I didn't have all that time. So I'd be walking down the street with books in my hand. People are like, she is really exercising with those books in the hand. So I had to do a lot of multitasking. Mm-hmm. And for a while, I thought my kids were going to hate me. No, because during that time, during those years of going through the ranks and studying for each level, I also achieved my master's degree. And I got my master's degree from Mountain State Strategic. I went into the Strategic Leadership Program.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was a lot of trying to balance my children's needs as well as trying to keep up with my schoolwork and the career. So those were some very, very tough times. And that's why, I had one more challenge that some people don't have to face. I'm here in Houston with all of my family are in Oklahoma, between Oklahoma and Dallas. And I have brothers and sisters that have moved to different parts of the country. I have one brother that's in Atlanta. But for the most part, I didn't have immediate family to help me with the children.
Wow.
So during those times that I had to switch shifts and work, the graveyard shift, work the evening shift, as I was promoting through the ranks, there were times that I would have to take my children to people that I barely knew. So there was a lot of tears were shed during those years. I had to give it to God. I had to pray just that they would be protected and let it go so I could go to work and focus on the task at hand, because you don't want to come to work and then you don't have or you're not focused, because this job requires that we remain focused.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I was faced with a lot of challenges, but I was blessed with two well-behaved young men. Both of them now are working and they're attending Lone Star College. One of them does have a learning challenge, and what we learned, I'm working closely with him and the Texas Workforce Commission, and what we learned is not a disability, it's a special ability. So I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and as I'm raising them, and it's just, I'm telling you, there's so many things that I'm learning as I'm raising them and working with the community and taking some of the things that I've learned to the community and trying to show that same, I would just say, embrace those individuals, because I understand what they're going through when you're trying to put your children in to where they will have the opportunity so that they will grow, so that they won't end up a statistic.
Wow. You know what?
Right.
I promise God, it's just like she have the script. Like she know what I was gonna ask her and talk to her about. Because I'm like, won't he do it?
I think that's something we can all relate to, right? The sacrifices a single mom, well, not we all, but those of us who are single mothers, we can say, oh, we had to multitask. We had to grow. My mom said, grow up. You a mother, grow an extra arm and do it.
Absolutely.
So that's what she did.
And so this is absolutely amazing. And I thank you so much for your transparency and for sharing all of that. So a lot of the questions I was going to ask you in helping the community, our audience, get to know you, you basically hit 99% of it. So there's just a couple of other things that I want to bring up. You spoke of the children and that being a part of your heart, right? So where does your heart lie as it relates to the kids of the community and what's available for them?
One of the things, I love the community. I love the children that I've had the privilege of interacting with. One of the things coming out of the gang division, prior to this assignment, I worked in the gang division. And one of the things that I like to stress to everybody is that we prefer not to arrest or put people in jail, okay? We prefer to see them get help. We prefer to connect them to resources that will give them opportunities and teach them a better way. That's what we prefer to see as a law enforcement organization. And it breaks my heart every time I have to see that young generation, get hard time because of the choices that they made. when I was in the gang division, one of the programs that I promoted all the time was the gang resistance education and training. And that is because we recognize, number one, that we can't arrest our way out of the problems, okay?
Mhm.
We don't have enough space in the jail. And quite frankly, the criminal justice system can't handle us that being our only solution. So as a member of the police department, as a member of the Houston Police Department, we are always trying to promote other options. I work closely with several different organizations, and these organizations consist of opportunities to prevent individuals, or prevention programs rather. They consist of intervention programs, educational programs, and programs to help connect people with resources, whether it is something related to mental illness, whether it's helping people to get out of gangs, helping to provide them with tools that they need so that they don't have to turn to a life of crime.
Mhm.
Sometimes, I think, what would, if that person knew what he was capable of doing, and had been given or had been connected to those resources, would that person still have made those choices? Because I'm telling you, these kids are younger, and they're younger. Um, and we have older people teaching the youth how to go out and commit robberies, how to
Yeah.
go out and take over a cell phone store. We have criminals teaching criminals. And honestly, I don't believe that that was a dream of any of these individuals. I believe they felt trapped. I believe that, and if you listen to some of their stories, they're heartbreaking.
Mhm.
We stood on a corner one day, and it was one of our corners where we've had a lot of drive-by shootings, and we listened, and we had, I had an officer there with me, and I had some people from the community, some people that have known to be in trouble, and they stood there and they chit-chatted with us, and just listening to the dialogue back and forth. um, and one thing that's important to remember, not all of us officers came with a silver spoon in our mouth. We came up with challenges, and we got to learn firsthand. And I kind of watched the community's reaction. I had an officer with me that was she was, I would say she came up through foster care.
Mm.
And she talked to them about how, and she was a white officer, she was not black. And
Wow.
she got to share her story with these individuals. And it kind of opened their eyes so that they wouldn't sit there and say, well, because I'm black, this is what's happened to me, this is the way it is. This girl went through a lot as well, and she did not come here with a silver spoon in her mouth. She had a father that went to the penitentiary, but
Wow.
she made some decisions for herself. And so it was just inspiring to me, and just to watch their reactions, because these are the guys that stand on the street corners. These are the guys that are targeted, as far as drive-by shootings are concerned. These are the guys that have been in trouble. And so I have spoken to them, and I've said, look, when you're ready to change, come talk to me, because there's a whole lot of people that come from where you come from. And
Mm.
we need you to help reach these individuals, because they're very, very difficult to reach. There are times when I've offered goods as I'm standing at a church when they're giving out, free food. And I've seen young youth walking down the street, and I said, hey, come over here. We've got some, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, fresh. And I've heard the reactions, and they've said, oh no, we're not coming over there. You kill people. And it broke my heart, because I don't know what their experiences are, but based upon their reaction, that's how they truly felt about this uniform.
Wow.
And
Thank
I
you.
invited them to come over and talk. Of course, they refused, but where my heart is I want to do everything that we can. I want us collectively, the community, the police, to do the best we can to reach the ones that are the hardest to reach, because I still know that there's hope for those individuals.
Thank you so very much. I have one question for you, and then we're going to move to the what we call an intermission. And what is the ratio of officers to the community? How many officers do you have? Do we have ultimately versus how many people we have in Texas, so to speak, or in Houston to work with?
So I don't have the ratio in my head, but if I can remember correctly, it's somewhere around two point something. I know that in Houston, the Houston area, where our population is over 2.1. I know we've grown since the 2000 census, so I know we're over 2.1 million. And the officers, the number of officers that we have now is about 5,000. We're right at about the 5,000 mark.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. So while you listen and engage with us during this episode, we ask that you consider for yourself where you stand and how we embrace or dishonor the badge. Are you meeting us in the middle? Please stay tuned and post those burning questions.
Absolutely. Thank you, sis. And thank you, Commander Carolita. So you guys, I'm just going to go ahead and get right into our musical guest, Raul Blanco and the Jazz Wires. Put your seatbelts on. This is going to be an experience.
Hello, my name is Raul Blanco and I'm a Cuban pianist, and it's a real pleasure for me to be here today in this show to share a little bit of my music. And the song I'm sharing with you today is Brutal Fairy Tale from my third jazz album with my band Jazz Wires. And this story is about a girl who was trapped into a mind prison with a guy who seduced her, and he was evil, and he kind of just made her turn evil just like him. And then the video is a little bit like a movie, like a theatrical thing where there are marionettes and there are scenes on the snow running, trying to escape from that reality, but at the end she's trapped, and she gets influenced by his evil presence, so she turns just like him, and then she starts doing that to other people. So it's the message of the song is actually what you are trying to avoid in life, right? Just try to get rid of those bad influence of bad people who just try to destroy you and what you are. So yeah, that's the meaning of the song, and it's called Brutal Fairy Tale because it's that dream that sometimes you have, and then when you get to it, it's not what you were expecting to be. So yeah, that's the song. Thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure for me to share my music with you.
Okay. I am so sorry. We're coming right back to that, okay? Give me just a minute.
Okay. So that is okay. Hey, we're live.
We are.
And I want to thank Raul Blanco and the Jazz Wires for being a part of this episode and sharing their theatrical adventure with us. And so we'll get to that in just a moment. Sis, do you want to?
Yes, I would like to engage with Carolita just for a minute while I get this together, if it's okay.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
Bam. Okay. So, Carolita, I want to ask you a personal question. Do you ever get tired?
There are times where I'm emotionally drained, and usually it's after, I would say the thing that I don't like the most is when it comes to disciplining officers. It's very necessary. It's a very necessary task that we have to do because we have to maintain and instill discipline within the Houston Police Department. But yes, sometimes those can be the most draining moments or experiences. And when you get home, you don't want to do anything but veg. I call it veg, or just maybe watch TV and kind of decompress. But yes, I do get tired, but it's not usually physical. I mean, well, it's physical if you don't get enough sleep, because there are times where, we get called out in the middle of the night. And, I've learned how to make my office a bedroom, but just so that I can get the sleep that I need so that I don't have to hit the road and, while I'm sleepy. But yes, I do get tired, and emotionally, it's more emotional tiredness than it is the physical.
That's a blessing. If everybody's okay, I think my technology is willing to pay tribute to Raul Blanco and the Jazz Wires. I'm so sorry, but it's lovely. We'll be right back with more, because I love that you're being so vulnerable. We really appreciate it, and so does everybody else.
Melancholy, the story of my love. How could I believe that fantasy that led me to my fall? I dreamed of fairy tales, illusions, charming princes and romance. But now the impossible, I can't get out, was not naive design. A magic castle in the sky, a big enchanted tale. The fantasies, the hopes I had, my fairy tale is he got so deep inside my dreams, he lured me to his spell. The more I try, I can't escape this brutal fairy tale. You're brutal, baby. Vanished and fainted, here I live trapped in my imagination. I turned to darkness, all of my soul hastily gave up all sensation. For all the beauty that he painted, had too much of pride. For answers now I have to pay, my turning in my life. Lost in his world, faded, broken, running, fearing he will find me.
I'm just gonna say right now. In the beginning, it was freaking me out because it kept talking about, you see them quick look, and you see something dark, and you be like, oh, wait, hold on. I was like, it's coming
But
back.
see, that's like the whole wolf in sheep clothing, right? Somebody comes a certain way, we really don't see it at first, and then we see it, and it's like, oh, we're already in the thing, and so now we have to get out. Okay, hello, I'm not going to preach today, but and then we have to get out of it, right?
Absolutely.
Honest. And that's what Raul said, right? He said we want to avoid that. So I think it's really clever how he put that whole thought to such creative artistry.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys for coming back. So I have more for you, Commander Carolita. So this is cool. I want to talk about and get transparent with you regarding solving crimes in our community. I'd like to know, why is it so, or is it incredibly challenging? And how important is it for the community to trust law enforcement? And what can law enforcement do to build that relationship regarding solving crime in the community?
So first, let me say that solving crime has become very challenging for us because we have two major challenges. One, we've experienced more violence than we've ever experienced. And number two, we continue to struggle to maintain our staffing. So with the staffing shortages, being in a city that is approximately over 600 square miles, and with a law enforcement staff at about 5,000, we desperately need more officers on the street. The other problem is with the violence, the escalation of the violence. Criminals, they're very tech savvy. Criminals, and our biggest threat is the ones that are more organized. We have to be better at going after the networks of the criminals. But in order to do those things, we need information. We need intelligence. In order to get the information, in order to solve those crimes, it takes cooperation from the community. And that's why it's so important to me to be transparent with the community. That's why, I remember what you said earlier. You let them know that I do a lot of virtual meetings with the community. And I go to their space, okay, because I want to hear from them. But that partnership, I can't say enough about it, because getting people to trust us with that information, and I know some people feel like, I don't want to bother you. Please don't worry about bothering me. I give out my phone number. I don't own that phone. The city owns that phone. I give that phone number like I'm giving out candy, because I want people to call me. And yes, I answer the phone even when I'm off duty, because I want to know what's going on. I want to make sure that we're addressing those needs. I want to be able to solve it. I don't want to miss an opportunity to solve a crime, because sometimes it's just a simple connection between you and a key person within the community. But yes, we are faced with the challenges, because we are dealing with a level of violence that unfortunately, we have not experienced. And so it's really important that we do connect, and that we stay connected with the community, and that they do trust us. So I hope that, one of the things, I don't know where the listeners are coming from, but wherever you are, if you're listening to this, get to know your local law enforcement. Get to know your local leadership is so important. We don't always know where you're at. I try to get out and I'll drive around and stop and talk to my business owners, my apartment managers. I try to, my club owners, a lot of them know me. So I try to get to know these people, but I'm one person. Initiate that conversation with that patrol officer that's eating dinner, or that stopped, doing whatever he's doing. But initiate those conversations. And go ahead.
Do you think that, because you're special, and I think everybody listening can agree how special you are. You're so open. You have an open door policy. I know that people can just come to the station. I mean, pre-COVID, you have to be a little careful now, of course. and you'll invite them in to have coffee and a donut, but I would think that would be a great approach for the entirety of the police force, because we're talking about protecting and serving. I love the way you say, hey, you have access to me when we're not trying to particularly solve a crime, so that when you need that information and you can get to the street to get it, well, then you have some people who are used to conversing with you outside of that. And now you're asking me to fight fear, right? Come on, let's be real. I got to say something that's happening that could, come back on me and my family, and I got to live here. But because you already have that community support, you already have a relationship with these people, then, the people in the community, then we can come and talk to you. Here, I said that to say this. That is so, to me, few and far in between. I live in Friendswood. I'm just going to say it now. This is the real and raw. I can't imagine any one of those folks ever offering me to come in. I have never heard such a thing ever in my life. I haven't heard it anywhere come out of any protector's mouth. And the Bible tells us that you have we should honor those who bear the sword. You bear the sword. You're protecting us. So we honor you. And we want to help you, but we feel like we can't because of all of these images. We see more of the images of things happening to us that are not good, and way less of the images of what you're bringing to the table. And that's why we asked you on the show, to be quite honest, is because we said, wow, she should be the leader of the whole America, training people. I mean, seriously though. Has anybody else watching heard someone get on TV and honestly say that they're inviting the community in when there's not a problem going on, to just sit and have coffee and talk? Is there an open door so you can come in and get to know who's protecting and serving you? So what are we going to do about that? What do you say to your fellow folks, if that's something you can say, or will say it? Okay, maybe I said it. So I'd like to ask you, where did you get this heart from? Where did you get this love to be so open, yet firm enough to put somebody in jail when they need to be in jail?
So I can't say, I can say that I belong to God. And this is what I was made for. I really do have a heart for the people that we serve. I don't really understand not having this type of disposition, to be honest with you. If you are, I'm getting paid to be here. This is what I'm supposed to do, is to connect with the community. There is no way that we can even be as effective as we are now without this connection. And I know some people with the uniform, they're still like, no way, Jose, I'm not coming to your station. So guess what? We come out in the community. That's why we go and we set up shop. We get involved in the different programs. I have officers that are all over the community. It's not just me. I've got community service officers. I actually prefer not to have events at the community. I prefer to do it out there. During COVID, we decided, at first we kind of stopped everything at the beginning of COVID. And then after about April, May, June, I was like, no, we can't do this, y'all. We have got to do something. And so we partnered with the Turkey Leg Hut and U of H High School, and we did a turkey leg. Turkey Leg Hut gave away free turkey legs, and the snow cone shop. I can't remember the name. It's Snow Dreams, I believe. It's off of Scott Street. We partnered with them. They came and gave away free snow cones, and we had so many different people from the community that represented so many different organizations. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee came. And they personally handed out turkey legs. The mayor came. We also had organizations that were getting people to, register to vote. They came and they were walking up to cars and getting people registered. We had an organization that helps to connect. It's called Sarah Jobs. They came and they were approaching the vehicles and introducing peoples of the community to their organizations. We also partnered with Texas Southern University, Precinct 7. They helped us out with the traffic. When I say that was like a dream come true. And after that, we just decided, you know what? Not to say we forget COVID, but what we did is we made sure that everybody was masked up. You couldn't even approach Congresswoman without a mask. She would stop, she'd put your mask on, and then they would get their turkey legs and they'd be able to proceed on. But after that, we continued on and we had other events. We had the roving, the Halloween trunk or treat, and then followed by the floating Santa workshop. I mean, we just stayed out there, y'all. And you know what? We're going to stay out there. So if you don't feel comfortable coming to us, you can. And I've had people call me and say, hey, don't forget my apartment complex. So you can call me and tell me, hey, we are here. Please come to us. And if you're not in South Central's area, I will connect you to the proper leadership. So, all you need to do is you can call the station and leave me a message, or you can email, and I will be glad to leave my email, on this. Matter of fact, I'll type it in the chat. But yes, we understand the hesitation, okay, because some of you guys have had some experiences, and I am very sorry for those experiences. But please give us a chance, because we have a new chief Troy Finner. Give us a chance. He's an awesome leader, and he believes being in the community that's the way that was the background of his career, was being in the community, being a part of the community, loving on the community. So just give us a chance. And if you don't want to come to the station, you can email me, or you can call the station, and we can connect and help connect you to whatever leadership. If you're in a different town, maybe we can perhaps help set you up that way. I've had Galveston PD call me and say, okay, how did y'all do this?
Carolita,
I see you putting up the I'll stop.
I need to ask you a question. Right. I need to ask you a question. And we have less than 10 minutes left. So we have about maybe 1 minute for this question, right? So we still have a point that we have to bring forward. In bridging the gap, and then one of the things that you said was about the disciplinary matters that you have to do, and which is difficult, right? There are officers who are not appropriately representing the badge. How difficult is it for your department, for your agency, and that's all that you can speak on, right? For you to kind of weed out or identify those individuals and remove that cancer out of the space, so the integrity of the department can be seen for what it is that you represent and what it is that so many other law enforcement officers and ladies represent and are trying to bring forth to the table to get back into the community, to establish and bridge the gap.
So when I just want to kind of start out with this. In order for us to identify the officers that do not belong within our ranks, it takes a collective effort of the community, because we need people to let us know when somebody that is acting less than professional. It's not very difficult once we've identified those individuals. We know that their families are being affected. We know that their professional life has been affected, and it does hurt, but we know that we're doing the right thing. And so it's not that difficult to do the right thing. Where it does get difficult is when you have to discipline an officer who made an honest mistake. And those are difficult times, but I try to tell people, learn from this and do better. Okay. It's kind of like the preacher tells you, sin no more. Okay. I try to tell them, learn from this and don't make the same mistake over. We're all in the flesh. We are all human. We all make mistakes. And what I let them know, I'm not judging you. Please. I never want to see a citizen mistreated. I don't want to see us back at this table on the same topic again. But as far as the ones that do not and should not be wearing the badge, yes, there's a process in place. There are laws that protect that person. They're called Garrity laws that protect the officer. He has the right to a certain process or due process, and he has the right to know what's being brought up against him. He goes through that process, and then at the end, the chief decides whether or not that person will be retained or will be dismissed. And those are tough. Those are tough times. But we know, and we all know, that discipline is so very important, because this job, you're not, when the patrol officer leaves the station, they're not under direct supervision the entire, most of the time. Mm-hmm. Yes, we do have body cameras, and yes, we do monitor those body cameras. But there's hundreds and thousands of footage that we have to watch, and it takes a lot of our time when we're going through cases and trying to make sure that that we're checking it for quality. So yes, it's not. I don't say it's not a hard decision when you know that person is not a good fit. Okay. So yes, when somebody's losing their job, if you have a heart, it does hurt. Okay.
But you need the community to get into communication, and you need the community to speak up, whether it's uncomfortable or not. And the community fears their lives, fears the retaliation. The community have their own level of fear, their own experiences, right? But at the end of the day, in order for anything to get done or a process to begin, and for you and the chief and so many other reputable officers to actually get these individuals off the streets, to get these individuals like Shelvin, we ain't giving him no fame, okay? But like all of these unethical individuals, we need the community to meet us in the middle. You need the community to meet you in the middle. Go out into the community, engage community policing, engage with them, having conversations in the neighborhood, in the community, riding the bikes, living in the community, living in the neighborhood, and having real conversations with you all, and being transparent and not afraid to the point where you cannot stomach holding your mouth closed and jumping out there and saying, hey, this person did this to me, this officer did that to me, and just trusting the process, even as difficult as it is. Thank you so very much. We're going to move forward. We're going to go to our report. We'll be right back. We'll get some closing thoughts. And we appreciate you, Commander. We appreciate law enforcement, and we appreciate all of the community.
And thank you.
Jay speaks. Jay speaks because I'm a needed voice among the loud. They choose not to hear me because they have not been found. They drown me out in the ocean of unrealized deception. But the rivers of water flow out of me, so they use me as a device of flotation. God finds and keeps. The devil loses and weeps. Jay speaks because he uses me to move your heart to a process of peace. To the restless minds and the confused hearts, God says, peace be still. His will is for you not to fall apart. Why Jay speaks? Because God so loved the world, but you don't love him. You love diamonds and pearls, blunts and 40s, and hanging out on the block, toting 9s and 45s. To you, that's what's hot. Why Jay speaks? Cause I don't have time to play. Why Jay speaks? Because your soul's at stake. The unfaithful husbands and the wives that creep. The pimp and the gangster that so love these streets. The prostitute that let the pimp get her mind. The trap that has the gangster trapped in the web of lies. Why Jay speaks? Cause the God in me may be the only God that these streets see. I gotta go. Jay gotta go speak. They won't come to church. So Jay gotta go speak to the streets. We gotta do better. Jay speaks to the church too. Get mad if you want, but Christ said, with love and kindness will I draw you. As a willing vessel, I'm the bait. The opening of my mouth is the hook. God gives me the words to reel them in, to entice them poetically to this holy book. Why Jay speaks? Because I have to.
Hey. All right. Jerome J. Speaks the Poet Culverton. That was awesome. So we have just like 2 minutes to complete everything. So Carolita, final thoughts. What would you like to leave with the people? What would you like the people to know? What are your final thoughts?
One of my biggest thing is that it takes a village for us to make sure that we have strong communities, as well as an accountability or a police department that is accountable to their community. It takes ongoing dialogue and communication between the police and the community, because we need to know how we're doing. If we don't know how, and I think I speak for a lot of different organizations, whether private, public sector, I think I speak for everybody. We need to know how we're doing. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for being here. Sis?
It's absolutely our pleasure. It's absolutely our honor and pleasure to have you here. We want to thank all of our Houston police officers and surrounding areas, because I know there are those of you who are listening in. So we pray that you always come home safely. And the only thought that I have is that I just pray that we all have the courage to speak up, because I know that can be crippling and fearful. But hopefully we can be, as I always say, fearlessly forward in everything that we do. And I want you all to remember to join us in the after show party starting at 10:15. So Nakia and I can kind of let our hair down, take our wig off. We don't have wigs on, but we can just kind of, it's real. This is what they be buying. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm gonna get some phone calls. So you can join us as we laugh, we live, and we love. Okay, go ahead, sis. She got stuck. Oh wait, I'm gonna take a screenshot. I got her. She's stuck. It's a beautiful picture, isn't it? So I don't know if she's gonna come back to me or not. So I'm going to go ahead, since we just have a few minutes. You guys make sure, and this is for everybody, refresh your YouTube and refresh your Facebook, and you will be you will be able to join us for the after show parties with comedian The Slappy Payne, y'all, and you don't want to miss that. So just check out us, and we want to thank you for being with us. I'm your co-host, Von Greta. The beautiful woman that's frozen is your co-host, Nakia Franklin. And this is the Honorable Commander Carolita Johnson. And we thank you so much for being on the Real and Raw Talk Show. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Real and Raw Talk Show with Nakia Franklin and Von Greta. Remember to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel today. A special thanks to our guests, sponsors, and audience members. We are grateful for your support of our programming. If you would like to be a guest or sponsor of one of our shows, please email us at info.realrawtalkshow@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. This has been a Wisdom Entertainment production in association with Social Integration. The views and opinions expressed on the show do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Real and Raw Talk Show with Nakia Franklin and Von Greta. Any content provided are opinions and do not intend to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything. Stay connected and join us for our next conversation where there are no boundaries and no judgments.